Okay, we get started. Hope everybody's enjoying Sukkot. We've had pretty much beautiful weather, although it's gotten a little colder. And of course, most importantly, as I mentioned last night, please God, this will really be a holiday of peace. Sukkot is the holiday that represents peace more than any other holiday. Prosalenu Sukkot Shalomecha, right? You have to spread the canopy of peace, and of course, the idea of Jewish unity, the Arba meaning. The lulav, the etrog, how does it represent different types of Jews? The most pious to the most assimilated, they all have to come together. But I don't think I mentioned this last week, right? Why is Sukkot so much the holiday of peace? In other words, why more than Pesach when we became a nation, or we have on Shavuos that we all came together at Har Sinai, Vayichan Sham Yisrael Neged Ahar, that they were like Belev Echad Ki'ish Echad. Why is there something? Why is Sukkot more than any other holiday a holiday of unity and peace? So I don't know that I have a full answer. I have an idea, but anybody have any ideas you may want to share why Sukkot more than any other holiday? No, nobody. So I thought perhaps because Sukkot is about the state of Israel. Sukkot is about the journey to the land of Israel. The on Pesach is the Exodus, and on Shavuos we sort of get our constitution, and then the idea of Sukkot is the traveling to Israel. The Arba meaning come from are things that grow in Israel, etc. So I thought that in order to build a state, that's very important. We lost our state because we weren't united, sinat chinam, etc., etc. So I thought perhaps that's why Sukkot is established as the why Sukkot is the holiday of Jewish unity. Hold on, okay. All right. What I want to do, I want to do two things today. I hope I just want to give a little bit. I want to say over a piece of Rabbi Bin that a fascinating article I read. I think I read it over Yontiv. I don't even remember. Maybe last Shabbos, and then I want to talk about the Hoshana that we do on Shabbat. So. Rav Noon, I guess there's a lot of ways. Whatever, but I'll discuss just a little bit of his share, and I'll start with one question, the question that sort of is raised, and let me share with you the screen. The way Sukkot is presented in the Torah is really, really strange, right? So if you go to Parshat Emor, right? No, that's not it. Go to Vayikra. Okay. So chapter 23 in Vayikra, of course, is the main section of the holidays in the Torah. Holidays appear all over the place. We mentioned Emor is the main place. Then in Bamidbar is the Korbanot, and then in Dvarim is the Shalosh Regalim. So the way the Torah begins, when we spoke on Sunday on our Yom Yun, two of the speakers spoke about framing in the Chumash, right? Rebecca Winter spoke about framing in Masechet Sukkot. Benny Gesundheit spoke about it in the entire Torah. So the story of we'll even start here. I'll skip the first framing. That the Moedim are framed with the verse Eila Moedei Hashem Mikrei Kodesh Asher Tikru Tamim Moedam. These are the holidays that you should call. That there's this special holidays, and then there it goes through Pesach, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, and then you get to verse 39 or 37, whatever. Eila Moedei Hashem Asher Tikru Tamim Mikrei Kodesh. So the Torah ends. It begins with these are the holidays. It tells you the holidays, and now it concludes. These are the holidays, and you're going to bring your sacrifice. And of course, the last holiday is Sukkot. That b'chamisha yom lachodesh hashvi yezeh chag Sukkot taselach have a holiday of Sukkot for 7 days. The first day is holy, and the last day, first day you can't do any work, and then the 8th day is also Mikrei Kodesh, right, the add-on, and then we're finished. Eila Moedei Hashem. Then you have this weird thing. Okay. I forgot. I forgot to tell you something. Oh, I forgot. There's another holiday. On the 15th of the 7th month, when you gather in all your grains, you should have this wonderful holiday for 7 days. And you should take a Priyat Sadar, Kapot Marima, not say Favot, and you should be happy. There's no mitzvah to be happy on Sukkot. Why would we be happy when we're being thrown out of our house? The mitzvah to be happy is on when we gather in all our produce and we got the beautiful harvest. And then we celebrate it for 7 days. It sounds like it has nothing to do with the holiday of Sukkot, except at the end, the Torah says, oh, you should sit in the Sukkah for 7 days. Okay, very nice. So why does the Torah split like this? Why didn't the Torah put the Arba Minim, before it said the holidays are over, before Elam Moed Hashem? Everybody understand the question I'm asking? That's a question that Rabbi Obi Nun. It's one of the questions he asked in this article, and the way the Torah presents it is very, very strange. So, very briefly, he explains like follows. He says that we are used to saying that there are two mitzvot on Sukkot. There's the mitzvah to sit in the sukkah, and there's the mitzvah to take the arba minim, and that's the mitzvah of Sukkot. So he says, not so fast. That really these are two holidays that appear. Two separate holidays that happen to be on the same day. There's Chag HaSif and Chag HaSukkot. Remember, last week we explained that the korbanot of Sukkot are doubled, right? On every other holiday we have one ram and 7 lambs. Every holiday, Rosh Chodesh, Pesach, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Shmini Atzeret, every one of them has. Some of them have 2 bulls, some have 1 bull, but they all have 1 ram and 7 lambs, except on Sukkot, you have 2 and 14. So last week we explained, if I remember correctly, that's because Sukkot is both the culmination of the Shalosh Regalim, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot, part of the pilgrim festivals of national history. And it's also part of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot, part of the holidays where we do tshuva, and it follows right on the heels of Yom Kippur. So Sukkot is part of the high holiday season, you want to call it that, and it's part of the Shalosh Regalim, so it has a double identity. It has two sets of korbanot. Rabbi Obi Nun says no. It's because he says because it's 2 holidays. There's 1 and 7 for Chag HaSif and 1 and 7 for Chag HaSukkot. So that's why it adds up to 2 and 14. But the holidays are disconnected. Now, why are they disconnected? When should Sukkot be celebrated? We mentioned, right? Sukkot should be celebrated in the spring because the Torah tells us very clearly that we sit in the sukkah because God took us at it. So we should remember the Exodus. Well, the last time I checked, the Exodus took place in the spring. I made them dwell in Sukkot, and I think we said last week, right? The Jews ate matzah in Sukkot, so Sukkot should be in the spring, not be in the fall. Okay, so. That's what there are 2 different holidays. He says, what he explains, it's very beautiful, actually, I think, and I'm not going to say the whole thing. It's a much longer shiur, I think, but it says like this. When we're first introduced the Shalosh Regalim, that's in Parshat Mishpatim, right? The first time we hear that there are 3 pilgrim festivals is at a little bit after Sinai, right, Yitro, and then towards all these basically civil laws. And then the Torah throws in some of the quote-unquote, not just their civil laws, are religious laws. So the Torah tells us, Shalosh Regalim Tachakli B'Shana. You have 3 festivals, right? Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur are not part of this system. At Chag HaMatzot, what are the 3 festivals? They're Chag HaMatzot. You have to eat matzah for 7 days. That's what we call, or Pesach, right? Because we left Egypt. Then we have Chag HaKatzir, right, which is Shavuot, and then we have Chag HaSif. Well, what's interesting, he says, is that on Pesach we mention like matzah, but we don't mention the sukkah on Chag HaSif. There's no mention of sukkahs here. Just mention the Chag HaSif, and it's the same thing in Parshat Kitisa after the Chet Egel. After the Chet Egel, the Torah tells us the same thing. At Chag HaMatzot Tishmor. You have to eat matzah because we left Egypt, etc. And then it says, this spoke about last night, Rabbi Rittold spoke about this in a different context. Chag HaSif Tkufat HaShana. And Chag HaSif, again, no mention of Sukkot, and we mentioned last week also, Sukkot is really the end of the year. So there's no mention of Sukkot. As he puts it, in Sefer Shmot, there would be no Sukkot. what's supposed to happen is the Jewish people are supposed to leave Egypt and they're supposed to go to Israel. They're not supposed to live in a sukkah for 40 years. They're supposed to go straight to Israel. But what happened is they sinned. And that sin, he says, really began with the sin of the golden calf, right? And it's only at that point, it's only then that we introduce the concept of Sukkot. In other words, Chag HaSukkot is a later day addition to the Torah, so to speak, and that's what we have in Vayikra, which is the first time and the only time we hear about the mitzvah to sit in a sukkah is in Sefer Vayikra. And what Rabbi Bin claims is that it was because really of the sin of the Jewish people. The Torah threw in Sukkot. Now we have to remember our journey in the desert, and the Torah purposely put Sukkot at Chag HaSiv. And in Sefer Dvarim is where you see the two holidays get merged into one. Because the Torah here, what we're going to read on Shmini Atzeret, right? The Torah says, where does it say it here? Chag HaSukkot. When is Chag HaSukkot? Chag HaSukkot ba'ospecha migarncha mikvecha. Here the Torah puts Sukkot is when we gather in our grains. In other words, here the Torah merges Chag HaSukkot with Chag HaSiv. So as he puts it, the Torah begins with Chag HaSiv, then it introduces as a separate holiday. There's all day to remember our journey in the desert. God led us for 40 years. The Yananei Hakavod. We dwelt in Sukkot. That's a separate holiday. One's a historical holiday. One's an agricultural festival. And then in Sefer Dvarim, the Torah merges the two. It merges Chag HaSukkot and Chag HaSiv into one holiday. And the reason he claims it does that is I don't know if we ever said the Rashbam recently. I said so many shirim over Sukkot. I don't know what day it is of the week. It's like I think I mentioned last night. It's so I don't remember what I said where and what, but I have my notes from last week. But I don't always talk exactly what my notes are. So I sometimes add things. But right the Rashbam, who explains that the reason Sukkot should be in the spring, the reason it's in the fall is because of the danger of kochiv otzem yadi asali et the fear that we always have when things go well, we forget about God. So the Torah specifically puts Sukkot at the time of the harvest, because when the harvest time, I worked so hard as a farmer, I'm amazing, and I'm so proud of the work I did. Vayishman Yishrun Vayivat, as we read last week in Hazinu, we get fat and we forget. That's human nature. So therefore, the Torah puts Sukkot at Chag HaSiv. It transferred the holiday that should be in the spring, transferred it to the fall. Anyways, that's a nutshell of what he spoke about. I thought it's a very interesting idea that really, and it is presented two separate holidays, and that's why the korbanot are doubled. And really, Sukkot should be in the spring, and Chag HaSiv should be in the fall. And the Torah had to switch it. Because of the sins of the Jewish people, we had to be 40 years in the deserts with the sukkah, and then the Torah wants to make sure we keep Sukkot. We don't forget, we don't sin again. So we put Sukkot. We have to leave our house to show that we're only God can protect us. Our home cannot protect us. Okay, if you want to read the full article, I assume people know here who Rabbi Bin. I assume some people know who Rabbi Bin is, and some don't. That's my assumption. Like everything we say, some yes, some no. Rabbi Bin is one of the world's experts in Tanakh. He was, I think, from the first. He was featured in Dreamers, the book by Yosef Klein Halevi. He was one of the 6 people featured in the book. He was one of the paratroopers who, in the 6-Day War, captured the Kotel. And he, I think, was in the first cycle Machzor at Yeshivat Har Etzion, and he's one of the experts in Tanakh. I think I don't know if he's one of the founders of Herzog College or not, but anyways, so that's that. Okay, that was just a little introduction. Let's talk about the piyut, the Hoshana of one of the one we say on Shabbat. I checked my notes. And 2 years ago, we did there are 2 Hoshanas we say on Shabbat. So I don't know if anybody remembers, right? But that we'll do the second one. Somebody got up on Sukkot, I think, and said that there's a rule that the rabbi can repeat the same sermon in 3 years and the same joke in 7 years. That was I said, I don't know what shul he goes to, but where I live, you can repeat the same sermon 3 days later. Not you don't have to wait 3 years to repeat the same thing. But okay, I don't mean to. But the old joke. The rabbi gives the same speech every year. Yeah, well, you sin the same sins every year. Gives the same speech, but jokes. Yeah, people remember. That's true. The people remember jokes more than they remember this year. Okay, what can you do? All
Were
right.
you
So
able to find out who wrote them? Or
that's what I'm coming to. So I didn't find out 100% yes. So thank you very much. So I was going to start by saying Debbie last week asked who wrote when the Hoshanas come from. So the Siddur Otzar Hatfilah that I use all the time says, and I saw that I think Elbogen has that. Elbogen is the German Reform rabbi who wrote this fantastic book on the history of Jewish liturgy. Really, like a very scholarly work on the. It was written in Germany. I don't know that it's ever been translated into Hebrew. I have it the English version, Jewish Liturgy by Elbogen. You can look it up. It's like I don't know 500 pages maybe, but it's tall. It's like a tall book. And it's very scholarly, and the Romanite tradition and this tradition where it comes from. But they both say most of them are from Eliezer Hakalir, the Kalir who wrote so many of our piyutim for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Apparently, he wrote many of the Hoshanas. The one we're going to do today, the Otzar Tefillah, say, was written by Rav Machir. I wrote down his name, I think. Yeah, Rav Menachem ben Meir. I don't know who it is. I didn't have time. I didn't look it up. But Rav Menachem ben Meir. But he lived during the Crusades in 1096. That's what they write. So they are older than you might have thought. We suspect that some of them may go to the Middle Ages. The idea of Hoshanas is already mentioned in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, and maybe the Mishnah says that here. You know what? Why don't I show you the Mishnah, even though I didn't prepare it? It's good to see. Good to see. It'll take me half a minute. I hope only. Okay, where are we going here? Mishnah Sukkah.
can I ask you something while you're looking it up?
Absolutely, yeah, of course. Yes.
Um, it seemed to me that the mission that I was in shul on the first and second day. The second day was beautiful. It was different day. It would seem to be different names for either Israel or
Beit
Yerushalayim.
HaMikdash. Right,
Right.
right.
Uh,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
but the third day, yesterday, was very
Erech Shtui.
depressing.
Oh, which one was yesterday? No, I thought yesterday, well, in Elisha we said Erech Shui, which was the one we spoke about last week, about God
Right.
should hear our tefillot and answering on Yom
Right.
Kippur. Right. Okay. So we go,
So they range from
yeah,
lofty to depressing.
yeah, that's what Sukkot does. Chag HaSif is the great blessings, and Chag HaSukkot, I just said, a pashtinkin ahat. I mean, basically, that's, if I
Yeah.
need to be like that, but that's exactly what we're explaining. The Rashbam's comment, the
From
Rabbi
the
Yoel Beinun is saying,
sublime to
we
the
have to go to the Sukkah because the Sukkah is the opposite of Chag HaSif. We have nothing. We don't even have a house, right? So you're right. It's back and forth. I mean, we can't have total back and forth. That's what Rav Soloveitchik says. Yom Kippur, the celebration is the 9th of Tishrei, the fasting is on the 10th. But yes, I did, when on the Slichos, you look, there are different themes. Some focus on our sins and some focus on how amazing we are. Some say, God, you brought all this persecution and yet we don't abandon you. We're amazing. The Jewish people are fantastic. So
like
we
the
always
two
have this. But I actually gave a shiur a few years ago. I don't know if I ever, I think I did speak about it here a little bit. All the contradictions in Sukkot. Sukkot is a holiday full of contradiction. We're going to read Kohelet tomorrow. Can you think of a more contradictory book than Kohelet? It contradicts everything, including himself. Right? So Sukkot is a holiday of contradictions. The Lulav and the Sukkah, the two reasons for the Sukkah contradict each other. Is it clouds of glory? That's greatness, God protecting earth
Sukkot
and sun,
mamish.
allows you to have. Why do we shake the Lulav, Hoshana? Why do we shake it to 6 directions? So Gemara gives two reasons. One is that God is the master of the world. Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is truly ever Uncle Moshe, right? So I don't know if that's where he got this song from. Here, up, down, here, has up, down, here, and there, everywhere, everywhere. He can be found, whatever. So we do it in 6 directions. That's one. The other one is, oh, it's a prayer that for hurricanes and rainy, it shouldn't be too terrible. Those are opposite. When do we shake the lulav? Hodul Hashem ki tov and Ana Hashem Oshiana. We do that in Hallel. We're singing on Mina Meitzar, Karatiyah. We contradict each other. That because that's the Rabbi explains. Whenever we get too high, we got to pull ourselves down. Whenever we get too low, we got to pull ourselves up. When we shake the lulav for Hodul Kitov, that's God is everywhere. When we shake the lulav, Ana Hashem Oshiana, that's praying for the hurricane. So Sukkot is full of contradictions. The whole life is full of contradictions. So that's so that you're going to find different themes in the Hoshanas. That's
That's like
what
those two scraps of paper in the pockets.
yeah. Bishvili nivra ha'olam and anochi afar ve'efer. Right. That I'm a nobody and I'm everybody. Right. Hillel. Right. It is Hillel is known as the most humble of all people. So by Sukkot, the Gemara quotes. He says by Simcha Bereshua imani kana kokan. If I'm here, everybody's here. So that's that's life. The life is full of contradictions. Go back and forth. Okay. Let's spend the
Thank
next little while. I hope that going through the kina. I mean, they do. There's some right. Some of them sound like kinot on Shabbat. Now, so I was going to show you what it said in the Mishnah. I'm sorry, right. Just to show you, I pulled it up. So the Mishnah says, Lulav arava shisha v'shiva. You take the lulav 6 or 7 days, depending if the first day is on Shabbos or not. But we're not interested in lulav. Arava shiva. The arava, that's where the Hoshanas come from. Shiva. Yom HaShvi, if Hoshana Rabbah, the 7th day of Sukkot, which, by the way, has no source in the Torah. There's no such thing as like the 7th day of Sukkot. Like, who cares? There's no different from the 3rd or the 4th day. There's nothing in the Torah. It's the 8th day. But in rabbinic literature, this is all based on Torah Shabbal Peh, Halacha L'Moshe Mishina, oral law, tradition. But at the 7th day, what we call Hoshana Rabbah, which is not mentioned anywhere in the Torah, that falls on Shabbat, then you take the arva even on Shabbat. Like the Mishnah says, if the first day of Sukkot falls on Shabbat, we take the lulav. We don't do that anymore. Question is, why not? According to the Mishnah, you don't blow shofar on Shabbat, but you do take the lulav when the first day is on Shabbat. But okay, not for now. And when Hoshana Rabbah falls on Shabbat, you take it on the 7th day. Now, our calendar is set up that Hoshana Rabbah never falls on Shabbat. But we can, if we have time, we'll talk about that at the end. And then the Mishnah says, what's the mitzvah of Arava? So there was this place, Motza. They used to go down and they used to gather in the Aravot and they put it on the side of the altar. And then they would bend it down on the altar and they would blow the shofar. And then they would do a hakafa. One time they would go around. Amrim ana shem Oshiana. Rav Yehuda Ani Vaho, which is what we do, and they vote. We're not going to go into that now. But Toyom, and on that day, the 7th day, they would go around the Mizbeach 7 times, and when they finish, they say Yofi Lecha Mizbeach. Oh, the altar is so beautiful. The altar is so beautiful. So that's the and they did it on Shabbos, and they did it on the weekday, etc. That's what we call. This is where our Hoshanas come from. They used to march around. Yes.
I'll tell you one of the interesting things that I discovered when I started davening at a Chabad house. They don't do Hoshanas on Shabbos. I mean, none of the people.
We don't do on Shabbos either. We
No,
say Hoshanas, but we don't
but they don't
march.
say it either.
Oh, they don't say it either. Okay. What Zev's not here today, so I can't right hear what they do here in Toronto. But yeah, okay. The Babish says all kinds of things differently. That's whatever. Yeah.
It's interesting,
Yeah, they don't say Hoshanas. So we do say Hoshanas, even though, right, because in the Mishnah, it doesn't really say that they said anything, right? If you notice in the Mishnah, it just said they walked around. Didn't say they said stuff. We now say stuff, and then, so that, I understand where the Lubavitch Minhag is coming from. The Mishnah talks about marching around, and we don't take the Arava on Shabbat. Now, again, there's all debate. This Arava seems to be separate from the lulav. Like what we do on Hoshana Rabbah, we take separate aravot. But apparently they did that every day in the Beit HaMikdash. Okay, that's a different customs. But there was a debate. Did they march around with the lulav? Makivim with the lulav or with the arava? So we're assuming when we do Hoshanot Rabbah, we assume we march with the lulav. We don't march with the arava. We only take the arava at the end on Hoshanot Rabbah. But it's not clear. They just said on the Rabbah, the Makivim, but it doesn't say they said anything necessarily. Okay, let's do the Hoshana a little bit, and I assume you don't have a siddur, or where is it? I was looking for a good version of it because the Sefaria version wasn't very good, and here it is. Yes, okay. Everybody see it? Koshata. This is nice and prints well. I don't even know. Okay. This doesn't have English, but okay, I'll translate most of it. I don't know if I know every single word, but kosher, they're beautiful, but you really have to study them in tremendous depth to fully understand them. Okay, so notice, of course, the way they did it. It's an alphabetical acrostic, right? Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalid. It's obvious here they set it up like so many of our piyutim, and you'll also notice that it rhymes, right, horizontally, right? Gonina, Chanina, Chofesh, Nofesh, Lahanchot, Minuchot, Machane, Mishnah, right? So it's an alphabetical rhyming, which is such common ideas, and always, the alphabetical acrostics, which were, of course, easier to memorize, which was very important before the printing press. But it also really is the idea that we can't fully express ourselves, right? That's words are limiting, so we sort of we use all the letters of the alphabet, and then we just take the rest. Or as the Rav said, that's why we blow shofar. We say all we can, but we don't know what else to say, so we make noise, we make sounds, and hopefully, just like a mother understands the sounds of the baby, God will understand our sounds. Okay.
Excuse me, can I ask you a question? These words are really difficult, and we who know some Hebrew break our teeth on them. So it just strikes me.
What did the people know 500 years ago who walked into shul in Mainz? What did they do in Mainz when they did it? Did they have a clue what was going on?
Right.
I don't know. I don't have
it rhymes.
I'm sorry?
I mean, even if it rhymes, how much does it help you if you're not fluent in the language?
So I don't know the answer to that question, right? I correct. It could be, okay, so the truth of the matter is, please God, Dr. Sokolow is going to be starting a series on piyut after the Yom Tov. We haven't finalized the beginning yet, but we said we'll see how it goes. It's going to do the piyut every week, of piyut on the parsha. And I think I've explained before that I heard this from David Silver originally, that in ancient synagogues, you didn't know what the davening was going to be like. It wasn't like today, the same davening every week. It changed from week to week. Like the piyutim expressed the essence of the day. So we skip a lot, but they have piyutim all the time. So they have piyutim every Shabbos. And the piyut of the Shabbos, the chazin's job was to compose a piyut, so to speak, for that week's parsha. And that's what they did. That was like the main thing of the davening. I don't know exactly what they didn't do. I don't know 100%. So you're right. So it could be people did know a little bit, but you're probably right. Most people didn't understand. I don't know. I don't know. Right. In other words, what's the purpose if nobody understands it? Just the Talmidei Chachamim. Because you would think they're doing this for shuls, they're doing it for regular people. I don't really have an answer to that question. If anybody has something they can throw in, please let me know. But yes, I'm assuming the average Jew who went to shul didn't know what it talked about, and if they did, I can assume that the average Jew today who goes to shul doesn't have a clue what it's talking about. That's unfortunate, because where it's worse with a siddur. I've said before, the siddur, I don't say, there's something very negative in the siddur, even though it sounds harsh. It took away avodah shabalev. We no longer do avodah shabalev. Zev, we missed you. We wanted, I guess you're still late, but we're saying at Chabad, Marty pointed out at Chabad, they don't do Hoshanas tomorrow at all. They don't even say it. Is that
No.
correct? Correct. Yeah. Okay. Good. That's what I thought. We were talking about why that might be. But okay. Good. Now that you're here. But anyways, I explained why I thought it might be. But once we have a siddur, we lost avodah shabalev. Avodah shabalev, everybody daven as they wanted to. That's the Rambam. That's how davening's supposed to be. But for communal reasons, we can't do that anymore, especially we're in the day. Maybe in Israel you could do it. Maybe you can do it when you have a temple in Israel. You can't do it when Jews are in New York and Prague and Vilna and Moscow and Johannesburg. You need a uniting Siddur. But once you tell people the words they have to say, so it loses meaning. It's not me. And whatever, that's something very negative about the Siddur. There's nothing we can do. That's the rabbi said, say it silently. We can do it. But the piyutim expressed hope. But you're right. So we're so caught up in saying the words of the Siddur, we don't pay attention. You've heard me say it 100 times because I really believe in it, and I do it sometimes. I skip things in Sukkot, whatever. I forgot whatever. I did my alarm clock was off this morning. Very rare. I actually slept in a little bit. I came quite late to shul this morning. So whatever. So I did. You have to figure out what you're going to say, what you're not going to say, whatever. And I know there's certain halachot in theory, but I'm Mishmon Esrei too. I got there for halach, but So when you daven, but you lose a lot when you have a siddur. So the halacha is that I've said 100 times. It is in the Shulchan Aruch. Tov ma'at. Beli kavana, kavana meharbe beli kavana. It's better to have a little bit, say much less with meaning and understanding than say, you don't have to say all the psukim Zimra, nothing will happen. I've said it 100 times. I wish our schools would do this, the elementary schools. They should daven every word out loud. They should sing every word like they did in Johannesburg. In South Africa, that was the custom. I know my wife's uncle knows the whole thing by heart because they said the whole thing word for word like they do in the Sfardim. But okay, it takes 3 times as long. So if that's fine, you switch the days on which you say everything. You don't just say all 5 hallelujahs every day. You don't say Az Yashir. So you don't say Az Yashir. You say Az Yashir once a week. But sing it. Do it. Say Hodu. No Hodu by heart. That's reform. You can't do that. I don't know. And it's whatever. But so that's the problem. We have to say other words. So come to Hoshanot Rabbah. This year it's Thanksgiving. Is it a holiday in the States? It's Monday. It's Columbus Day. Whatever the States on Monday. But people go to work on Columbus Day. No? Yes? No?
No post office, no banks, things
I'm
like
sorry.
that are open.
Wall Street's open on Monday? Law offices are open? I don't know. In
But not the post
Toronto,
office.
in Canada, it's Thanksgiving.
No
Our
garbage
Thanksgiving
collection and
is
no
Monday.
mail.
I'm sorry, we have Thanksgiving Monday, Hoshanot Rabbah. So nobody goes. I mean, nobody. Nobody's going to work on Monday. So it's still Hoshanot Rabbah. They're not going to daven for an extra half an hour in Hoshanot Rabbah. I understand they have to make a 6:30 meeting. People have to go to work Hoshanot Rabbah. They're taking out Sheminah Tzedek. So you have Hoshanot Rabbah. Oh my God, an extra 20 piyutim. They're just you don't have time to say the words. The chazan's saying and you don't understand one word he's saying. You just risk through. Now this year holiday, they should say it a half an hour slower. Say it. They should explain it like we do keynote. I said many times what we do for keynote. That's why I decided this year to do a podcast on slichot and to do one slicha a day, whatever, and make it meaningful. But we should do that in the shuls like everybody does on keynote. But it doesn't work for slichot. Okay, let's do this one and let's see what it means. And with the rhyming and the hopefully we'll have some meaning. So when you say it tomorrow, it's really beautiful. It's a beautiful piyut. Koshata. So they all start koshata. There's something. As you saved X, save us. As you did this, do this. Right. Koshata Adam Yitzir Kapecha Lakonana. What's that about? When you saved Adam Harishon, Yitzir Kapecha. Yitzir, to be a Yotzir, the creation of your hand. All right. When God, Lakonana, you protected him. Magain, right? Magain, Konana, same idea, I think. Yadam, coach, the same way you saved Adam, you didn't wipe him out. B'Shabbat Kodesh, himsato kofer b'chanina. When did you do it? On Shabbos Kodesh. Everything here is going to be on Shabbos because the piyut's on Shabbos. What we say on Shabbos, right? So according to the Midrash, Adam was created on Friday. And it goes through the Midrash, goes through the whole thing, what he did all day, and he sinned the same day, it doesn't take too long. But the forgiveness was really on Shabbat. So, but Shabbat Kodesh, himseito kofer, he paid his ransom. V'chaninan, you had mercy. Kenoshana, to please God, save us. That's the first one. Koshata goy mitzuyan mikavim chofesh. De'akivnu labor shvi'i lanofesh. Kenoshana. Anybody have any idea what it's talking about? I want to tell you, I had no idea what I was talking about till last night, about 11:30 at night when I was working. That's why I slept in. I went to bed after 2 o'clock, and I forgot to set my alarm clock. But whatever, Baruch Hashem, it's good. Yeah. So, anybody know what this is talking about? Koshata goy mitzuyan mikavim chofesh. It's talking
Maybe
about the
Noah?
Jews in Egypt. No, Egypt,
Huh?
Jews in Egypt. Goy means a nation. Mitsuyan, shayu mitsuyanim sham. Remember that from the Haggadah? They were excellent. They shined there. Mikabim chofesh. They wanted a break. They didn't. They worked 7 days a week. Mikabim choshek. Deyat kivnu labor shvi'i lenofesh. Their mind was set. Deyat kivnu. They had kavana, the proper no shvi'i lenofesh, that the 7th day should rest. So this they quote. There's a midrash that I had never heard of until last week. Whatever that. I don't know, maybe other people heard this midrash, that Moshe Rabbeinu convinced Paro to let the Jews have off on Shabbos. Because he said, you want the people to work. When you work them too hard, like now, you need vacation time to refresh your batteries. So Moshe Rabbeinu convinced Paro to give the Jews a day off. It's totally against the pshatim in the Chumash, but the Medrash actually says that Tichvar Avodah, and then Paro changed his mind. When Moshe said, okay, let my people go, enough of this. Oh, this is a trick. So that's what the Torah says, Tichvar Avodah, or whatever, make the work hard for them. He took away Shabbos. So according to this Midrash, for a short period of time, the Jews actually had Shabbos off. So this is, you saved a nation that was begging for freedom, for Chofesh, and they did actually, the 7th day, they had for a while, Shvi'i Lanofesh. They had the 7th day to rest, Keno Shana. Okay, beautiful. Koshata Ha'am, right? Again, we're in the alphabetical acrostic, you see. Nihakta Katson Lahanchot. V'chok Samta B'mara Al Me'menuchot. So this is a little bit easier one, perhaps, to understand. Koshat Ha'am, when you save the nation, Nihakta, you led them, Katson, like sheep, you lead the sheep to go where to go, Lanchot, so they can rest. Again, notion of Shabbat, Menucha, resting. V'chok Samta. Sam Sham Lo Chok Umishpat. Remember that pasuk in Bishalach. They came to Marah, and there Sham Sam. Right, you got it with the right thought. There he gave them Chok Umishpat v'Sham Nisau, and there he tested them. And the Medrash says there's a machloket in the Midrashim, but God gave 3 mitzvot at Marah: Shabbos, Dinim, and Paraduma. Some say Shabbos Kivurav Ba'im, and dinim. But whatever, we talk about that another time. But Shabbos, there's the midrash that Shabbos was given at Marah. That's where they first had the man. We know that was where Shabbos was given. The first time the Jewish people hear about Shabbat, they never knew about Shabbat. Forget this midrash about Moshe, like whatever. First, even then it was just the day of rest. They didn't know it's a Shabbat. But the first time was by the man, that they're not allowed to collect man on Shabbat. So the Chok Samta, that's talking about Marah, b'Marah, on Menuchot, to rest. Okay, Keno Shana. Koshata zivudecha b'mibarsin. Zivudecha, I think, means the people you have chosen. I think the Otzar Tefillah says your chelek and nachala, your portion. B'mibarsin, b'machaneh, in the camp that we were in the desert. Chachmu v'laktu b'shvi'i lechem mishnah. So what's this talking about? Chachmu v'lak, they were smart, and they gathered on the 6th day. Lechem Mishnah. We know that when the man fell, it fell 2 portions on Friday, so they took the double portion and then they kept it for the next day. So to save us. Okay. Koshata tifulecha haru hachana b'madam. So this is also based on an interesting midrash. Koshata tifulecha. That means when this is referring to the leaders of the Jewish people. Haru hachan. Okay. So maybe I even have it here. No, I didn't paint it out. Okay. It says, if you remember the story by the man, what happened is this man falls on Friday, and the Nisi'im, the leaders of the Jewish people, come to Moshe. What's going on here? How come there's so much man today? So, Koshata Tifulecha, that's what already continuation of the previous verse. Horu Hachana. So they understood that you're not allowed to prepare on Shabbos. You have to prepare before Shabbos. The wisdom, Horu. This is where we write Ve'chinu at the Sher Yaviu. I forget the exact but the notion that you have to, muksa, preparing in advance, is the ride by the man. So koshet b'lecha oru kachanav adam yishar kochacham. Yasher koach for the elders for realizing this, that it's we have to prepare in advance. V'hodu lamo roam, right? I don't know what v'hodu lamo roam means. That what does that mean? Let's see. But v'horu lamu roam. I don't know. Double measure manna for food on the 6th day. I'm not sure how that refers to it, but okay. But it's again, it's giving them a yasher koach for realizing the
Maybe
extra.
they thanked those who taught them. Roam,
V'hodu
roam,
lamo. Is that lamo roam, like the one who leads them, like the roet
right.
son, the Jewish
Roet
people?
son.
Okay, yeah, because we had the son before. Okay. Koshata kuluba oneg min hamishumar lo hafach eino v'recho lo namar. Again, continuing on the man, that the oneg min hamishumar, they had to save, that a guard from Friday. Normally, right, you couldn't have any leftovers, right? It would spoil. Part of the test of the man, right? The man is a tester to the babe. What's the test of the man? So one view of the test of the man is that they couldn't have any leftovers. You can't plan for tomorrow. You have to rely on God every single day. So, right, and that's an interesting question. How do you balance that, right? Kukaluba oneg min mishumar from the guard, lo hapacheno v'rechol lo namar, but it didn't spoil. Normally, it would spoil. It looked the same. It looked beautiful, and it's rechol lo namar. It didn't give off a bad smell like spoiled food with no refrigeration would normally do. Okay. Koshata mishpatei masaot shamat gamaru. The same way you save the mishpatei, the laws of carrying on Shabbat. It's also derived from the story of the Machana, how they encamped 2,000 amot from each other, right? That's where we learn tchumim from, how far you can walk on Shabbat. Nachu b'shabtu rishiyot tchunim shamaro. They rested, and the rishiyot, there's a private domain, a public domain. You can't care from one to the other. Utchumim, walking outside the city limits, that they guard. So the same way the Jews did that, Keno Shana. Okay, Koshata Sinai. Hashma'u b'dibur revi'i. This is as you say the people who at Mount Sinai heard the fourth of the Ten Commandments, right? Dibur inyan zachor v'shamor l'kadesh shvi'i, right? They heard that zachor and shamor, the two versions of the Aseret HaDibrot, to make the Shabbos al kain beirach v'yikadshev, to make the Shabbos a holy day. Okay, koshata pukdu yericho sheva lakiv. The same way, I don't know, I think the Medrash says, I don't think it's in Tanakh, but correct me if I'm wrong, that they marched around Jericho 7 times on Shabbat. Saru ad ridata. Yeah, it says here in the Piyut, they did this on Shabbat. Saru ad, right, ridata. Till it fell down, ridata, till it fell down on Shabbat. In Yericho, so too God should save us, like it did be Yericho. So now we're moving on from Kohelet, we're moving on from Mamad Har Sinai, we're already in the land of Israel. And that's, of course, what Sukkot is, the journey to the land of Israel. We went pretty quickly. Koshata Kohelet va'amo bebeit olamim. Kohelet, of course, is a reference to Shlomo HaMelech and Beit Olamim, of course, the house, the permanent house, of course, which wasn't permanent, but the house of God. That's, of course, Shlomo building the Beit Hamikdash. Va'amo bebeit olamim ritzuf b'chagagam shiva v'shiva yamim. Okay, so they celebrated 7 and 7 days, right? They celebrated 7 and 7 days, and you saved them. So there's an interesting, what do you mean he saved them? He saved them for 7 days. So I'll show you just very quickly what the Gemara says, if I can find it. Here it is. See, Shlomo Melech dedicated the Mikdash, the party finished on Sukkot, right? They dedicated the temple. We discussed last week, I think. Sukkot is a very temple holiday. Maybe it wasn't here I discussed it, but I know I discussed it over the past week. Oto Shana Lo Asa Yisrael et Yom HaKippurim. That's amazing. The year they dedicated the temple, there was no need for Yom Kippur. I mean, it makes sense. Right? What's Yom Kippur? Cheda Egel. The Mishkan's a repair for Cheda Egel. So when they finally built the Mishkan, they don't need that. That is the Kapar. They didn't celebrate Yom Kippur that year. Oto Shana Lo Asa Yisrael Yom Kippur. So they got a little bit nervous, after Yom Kippur. Doesn't say that in the Torah that when you build the Beit HaMikdash, you don't have to celebrate Yom Kippur. Shemanit Chayvu Soneim Shel, that's a euphemism. Maybe the haters of Israel, that's referring to the Jewish people. Kliyah, maybe we deserve to be destroyed. We didn't celebrate Yom Kippur. Yatzta Ba'kov Amar Lam. No. Kolchem muzmanim l'chayalam. That's the right thing to do. Like the mitzvah say, building the temple, celebrating the temple overrides Yom Kippur. So that's what this line in the Piyut is referring to. I'm sure there are a lot of midrashim I'm missing that it's referring to, but a lot of what I got was in the Siddur Otzer Hatzilot explained, but the same way Kohelet was saved in the Beit Hamikdash when they were saved, even though they celebrate 7 and 7. That extra 7 days happened over Yom Kippur, so too God should save us. Okay. Koshata shavim ole gola lepidyon, toratcha bekaram b'chag yom yom. Okay, so this is referring to the Jewish people when they returned back after the 7 years of exile in the time of Ezra and Nehemiah. Toratcha bekaram b'chag yom yom. They read the Torah every day. So we've spoken. I don't know. I didn't speak about it last week, right? The 8th chapter in the Nehemiah, this very troubling chapter that it's a try. You give Nehemiah to a typical person who doesn't know Tanakh well, and they're going to flip out because the Nehemiah does say something wild. The question is, what does it mean? So I don't want to. This is when Ezra and Nehemiah, the people came back. They're totally assimilated. They're the Arava. They're the Arava of Sukkot. They come back, they don't even know it's Rosh Hashanah, right? Ezra gathers them on the first day of the, on Rosh Hashanah, right? He gathers them, what does he say to them? Vayasvu kol ha'am, everybody's gathered by the Shar Hamayim, and Ezra starts reading the Torah to them. And it's on the Yom Echad, B'chodesh Hashvi. It's on Rosh Hashanah, the first day of the 7th month. And he reads the Torah, and they don't have a clue what's going on. The people, they never heard of Rosh Hashanah. Amdulam Vayivarach Ezra, and everybody answered Ezra, very nice, okay. And then Vayikru B'Sefer, they read the book. And then what happens, he says, so Ezra says, go home and eat and drink and party. Rosh Hashanah is a day to party. Like Purim, send gifts to everybody. It's a holy day. Don't be sad. They heard about they were sad. No. It's a beautiful Rosh Hashanah. It's a wonderful day. Wow. They didn't know. So everybody went home. They didn't say Unatana Tokef. They went home and they ate and they drank and they had a nice party. Okay, and B'Yom HaSheni, second day of Rosh Hashanah, right? They're in Israel. Second day of Rosh Hashanah. They want to understand the words of the Torah. And they saw, they heard, they never knew this. It says in the Torah that you're supposed to sit in a sukkah. And they said, wow, I didn't know that. These are Jews come back. I didn't know we have a sukkah in the 7th. Did you ever hear of that mitzvah? And they heard in all their cities, wow, go and bring alei zayit, alei hadas, alei tmarim. And it sounds like sort of the Arba minim. Then make your sukkah. That's why the Samaritans only make a sukkah from the Arba minim, based on this verse. It seemed like it made the sukkah from the step that's sort of the Arba minim. Wow, and they made Sukkot, and everybody made it on their rooftops and the Chatzer and Rechov Shar Ephraim and the gates. Wow, they made the Sukkot. And all the people who came back from captivity, from the Galut, Sukkot, Vayeshvu B'Sukkot, because they hadn't sat in the sukkah since the time of Yoshua ben Nun. Nobody made any sukkot. Came b'nei Israel out of Yamahu. The Jewish people didn't sit in a sukkah from the time of Yeshua until this time. Vati they were so excited, they were so happy. So, you can understand why this pasuk sort of presents a few problems for our Masorah, our Jewish. What in the world is going on? So whatever. So Yoel Ben Nun, in the same article I quoted at the beginning of my article, he does discuss this, and he says they were different Sukkot. He discusses the split that the Ole Regalim didn't. But so it's not important now. I mean, it's a nice topic, but whatever. But we do know it's all over the place. The Jews were assimilated. They were doing avodah zarah. You shouldn't be so shocked that it doesn't. The Mefarshim explain it doesn't mean nobody kept sukkahs from time Yeshua. But there hadn't been a sukkot like this where the people came together and gathered. But we know they didn't. I don't know. It's not so shocking, that not all the Jews kept. So I say today, whatever you think about Israeli governments and this, we're way more religious than the Israeli governments of Tanakh. They did avodah zarah. They wouldn't let people. Yeravam ben Nevat didn't let people go to Yerushalayim. I mean, he prevented Jews from praying. Achav, these are awful kings who did way worse than the worst of any of the kings. Okay. So anyway, so they read Vayikra Sefer Torah Lim Yom B'Yom. So here is now our piyut. Okay, just that's the background. So the Jews were so excited. Ezra was reviving Torah. Remember, the Gemara says that Ezra was the second Moshe Rabbeinu, and Ezra should have gotten the Torah. He was amazing what Ezra did, but Moshe beat him to it. It's like a funny Gemara. What can you do? Moshe already got the Torah, so Ezra couldn't get the Torah. So what did God do? He changed the letters of the Torah, right? You know that famous thing, Ktav Ashurit. The Hebrew letters used to look like Egyptian hieroglyphics. Ktav Ivri. There's some fancy English word, I forget what it's called, paleographic or something. Some letters, and the Talmud says the Ktav Ashurit from Ashur, the Syrian Ktav. It's just like a non-Jew. We changed the letters, so it's as if Ezra got a new Torah. So they were so excited to learn about Torah. It's beautiful. Yom Yom Min Yerushot. So they did this holiday on Sukkot, and they studied Torah. So Ad Yom HaCharon. They were Yom Yom, Yom B'Yom Miriam. So that's how the Otzer Siddur Atfilot explains this line in the Hoshanot. Toratcha b'karam b'chag Yom Yom. That's a reference to the Jews in the time of Ezra. They had to redeem the people who were so assimilated from Babylon, and only the most assimilated Jews came back. But beautiful. Ezra gathered them together, and they read the Torah every day on the holiday of Sukkot. Beautiful. Okay. Koshat, it's in one line of the piyut. It's like whole Jewish history here. Koshata misam kacha bebinyan sheni hamechudash. Wow, the Jews then built the second temple. Not lim lulav kol shiva b'mikdash. And of course, the halach is that according to the Torah, you only take the lulav in the Beit HaMikdash for 7 days. We spoke last week. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said when the Beit HaMikdash is destroyed, we're going to do that too. Okay. Koshata chibut arava Shabbat medachim. We saw that in the Mishnah. I showed you the Mishnah before, that when the seventh day of, I don't know why it does that, when the seventh day, when Hoshanot Rabbah is on Shabbat, which, used to happen maybe, but doesn't happen anymore. Chibut ara Shabbat medachim. It pushes aside the Shabbat. The Aravav was so important, even on Shabbat. Murviyot Motzah, that was the place where the Mishnah, I can show you in the Mishnah if I still have it. What do they do, right? Remember, it said here, Ketzad, Makom haya lemata v'yishleim v'nikram Motzah. They went to displace Motzah, and then they got the branches of the Arava. So that's what he says here. Koshata chibut murviyot Motzah. They took the branches from Motzah liyesod Mizbeach to put it on the side of the Mizbeach, right? The Mishnah says the Mizbeach was 10 amot high, 15 amot high, and the Aravas was 11 amot high. The big 18 feet, whatever, of huge Arava tree, and it would be taller than the Mizbeach, and it could fold over the Mizbeach. The Yesod Mizbeach, they put it at the bottom, and then it rises all the way to the top. Koshata brachot aruchot ukvoot melsim. Then we said all these, all these blessings and all these prayers we said to God. Melsim, we praise God. B'ptiratam, we saw that in the Mishnah. Yofi lecham mizbeach mechalsim. Right, that's right here in the Mishnah. When they left, when it was finished, v'amrim makivim b'shab ptiratam yofi lecham mizbeach. When they left, they would say, "How beautiful is the mizbeach." So here you have yofi lecham mizbeach mechalsim. They praise the beauty. Koshata modim umiyachlim below mishalim. The same way you praise those who bow down to you and pray to you. Kulanu anu liya beinenu liyashonim. That's also from that same Mishnah. Our eyes are to you, our eyes to you, and who save us. Koshata yekav mechatzavecha. That's like the fruit. There should be growth from the ground, sovabim biranana, with joy. We surrounded the altar with all these plants, right? Beautiful plants, give ranana, ronanim, and we sing in joy. Anav, anivaho, Hoshiana. That's what we say at the end of every Hoshana. Anivaho, Hoshiana. Koshata achels rizim mishartim b'minucha. Korban Shabbat kaful olam mincha. Just the rhyme. Just have to read it like this, right? I don't in the Siddur they're not all printed like this, right? When you save the Chels Rizim, the army of people who were zaris, who were meticulous, Rizim makdimim lemitzvot. We want to do mitzvot as early as we can, as most best way. Mishartim b'minucha. We service God on Shabbat by resting. Our service is to do nothing. I mean, in the classic, in the creative sense. Korban Shabbat kafur. We bring in extra korban. We have the korban musaf on Shabbat. Koshata leviyecha al duchanam laharbot. This is talking about the Levim who bless the people, the Kohanim Levim, right? They stand on their duchan. Omri mizmor shir liyom haShabbat. We begin Shabbat. That's before the Kabbalists in Sfat, right? Before Lechuna Ranana, before Kabbalah Shabbos, we started davening with mizmor shir liyom haShabbat. Koshata nichumecha b'mitzvotecha tamid yishtashun. God, as you saved the people, your had mercy, right? Or you found those who found comfort in the mitzvot. The Jewish people, with all the persecutions, found comfort in the mitzvot. So God, remember, this is written, I told you, during the Crusades. Right? The author, this person lives in the Crusades. Now I think he's talking about his own time. God, we should return with peace and please God, it should happen now. Koshat Shvut Shiftei Yaakov. This already sounds like Yom Kippur. This comes from Yom Kippur. We say this, right? You save the remnant of the, you save the tribes of Jacob. So saved us. Koshat Shomrei Mitzvot. Those who keep mitzvot. Chokei Yeshuot. We wait for your redemption. El Moshe, up to God. Hoshana Aniva Hoshiana. It's a beautiful piyut. And instead of just mumbling it in shul tomorrow, say it with Kavana Zev. You're going to have to go to, you don't daven at Shabbat on Shabbos, so you'll have an opportunity to say this. But it's really, really, I don't know, just beautiful. And I'm sure there's many more things we could talk about, but that's the view we say for Shabbat, composed in the Middle Ages. And okay. All right. Any questions, comments? Otherwise, we'll wish everybody a Chag Sameach. Just to quickly review, I discussed Rav Yoel Ben Nun's article that originally Torah just has Chag HaSif, and we moved from Chag HaSif to Chag HaSukkot, because really they're two separate holidays, and that's why in Parshat Emor, Torah says, Eila Moadei Hashem. These are all the holidays. It's finished already. Finished. And then, I forgot to tell you about Chag HaSif. Chag HaSif is in the fall, and Chag HaSukkot should be in the spring, because that's when we left. That's when God took us out of Egypt. That's why we sit in the Sukkah. Maybe we wouldn't even need Sukkot, but we sinned for 40 years, and then Sukkot gets added in and then gets attached in Parsha Rei to Chag HaSif. We have to celebrate Sukkot when the time of our plenty, and we're likely to forget about God. That's when we have to leave our homes. And then we went through basically this beautiful piyut talking about all the notions. The same way God saved all the people who kept Shabbat. We're here 3,500 years later. Right, the people from Yetziat Mitzrayim, from the Man, to Yericho, to the Beit HaMikdash, to Ezra, to the Crusades, and now to our time, that God should bring a Yeshua to the Jewish people. Let's hope that we're witnessing the beginning of that. Okay? Chag Sameach, everybody. I'm sorry?
Paleo-Hebrew.
Paleo-Hebrew. Thank you very much. Ktav Ivri.
And you can see that in the Ten Commandments when Charlton Heston comes down with the tablets. It's written in Paleo-Hebrew.
Charles Heston. Okay, got to go back and look at the movie.
Look at the tablets. They're written in ancient Hebrew.
Right. That's what the Gemara says. And then Ezra got the new letter. So it's if he got the new Torah, because he's the one who revived Torah. Without Ezra saved the Jewish people. And that's why I think the Gemara says Ezra lived to be 120, like Moshe. There's a lot of comparison between Ezra and Moshe. Okay, please God, next week back to our Siddur. It's our Siddur, our daily Siddur, and we're going to start after Shemon Esrei, Tachanun. A prayer that lots of people don't like to say. They're very happy when we can skip Tachanun, but you'll see it's beautiful, like all the tefillot. And maybe after we learn it, you'll be upset when they skip Tachanun in your shul. I don't know, but
we'll give the laws of when you say it.
Not the law. We're going to go through the words of Tachanun. Yeah, we can discuss a little bit when why we don't say it. We don't say it now till after Rosh Chodesh, so we'll just learn it even though we don't say it, right? And but then the Tachanun on Monday, Thursday, whatever. The Siddur is a big book. We've only gotten to the end of the Amida. This is page 896 in this Siddur I have here at Hoshanot. And the Amida ends at page 140 or something, 134. So got all these 700 pages in the middle. Kriyas Torah, Mincha, Mark, Shabbos, everything. Okay, but all right. Chag Sameach, everybody should be Modim Simcha. Yes.
Quick question.
I have to run the class, but yes.
Why don't we do Birchas Kahanim and Chalavot Sukkos?
I don't know. It's not Yontiv. I guess the same reason we don't do it every day. Like the Sfarim do it every day. So I guess Chol Hamoed, they only do it Yontiv. It's Simcha. You're right. Why don't we do it Chol Hamoed? I hear the question. I don't know. The
We
answer
say
that
the
wasn't
Musaf.
enough. When they decided to stop, they only did it only on Yontiv. But yeah, I could hear they could have done it on Yontiv. On Yontiv, right? I don't really know. Yeah, Wall Street is open on Monday. Okay, I see that. Okay, but the Toronto markets are closed. Okay, so what do you want? Okay,
Shabbat
everybody.
shalom. Yeah,
Chag Sameach, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. Bye bye.
Rabbi Kelman.
Yeah, very
As
quickly.
a public service announcement, Rabbi Strachler quoted Zalman Auerbach that if we're expecting a nor'easter, that you can take the sukkah down if it's going to cause a problem. You can
Oh, is that
take
what they're
your-
expecting in New York? I have no idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I have no idea. I didn't hear
A
it.
very bad nor'easter. They're
What's
saying
the noise here? Like big winds? I don't even know what that means.
winds, rains.
All right. Okay. I don't know. In Toronto, Baruch Hashem,
Yeah,
it's colder.
Of
The weather-
horrific proportions.
We've had all our meals in Sukkot. It's been very nice. I didn't hear about this.
Yeah.
Too busy coming back to know what's going on. Okay. All right. You should be good. What can I tell you? Hopefully the weather will turn out okay.
Good Yantiv, Shabbat
Good
Shalom.
Yantiv,
Shalom.
Shabbat
Thank
Shalom.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Shalom. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.